Imagine waking up strapped to a chair in a room that smells like bleach and cold electricity. You don't know how you got there. Your head is throbbing, and your memory is a total blank. Then, a smooth robotic voice that sounds like it's smiling tells you that you have 90 minutes to prove you didn't kill the person you love most. If you fail, you don't go to jail. You don't get an appeal. You just stop breathing. This is the story of mercy, and by the end of it, you'll be questioning whether justice should ever be trusted to a machine. The story begins in a version of Los Angeles that feels like it's finally given up. The year is 2026, and the city of angels has turned into a giant cage. High crime isn't just a headline anymore, it's the weather. It's everywhere. Widespread homelessness and unemployment have pushed the city into a full-scale epidemic of violence. The prisons are so packed, they've started establishing red zones, massive walled-off sectors of the city where the cops don't go and the law doesn't exist. If you go in, you don't come out. Thousands of officers have died trying to hold the line. In response, the Department of Justice did something radical. They introduced the Mercy Court. It's a high-tech courtroom where capital offenders are judged by an artificial intelligence named Judge Maddox. No lawyers, no years of appeals. The AI eliminates the human error of a jury and delivers a verdict within hours of a murder. In this room, if you are presumed guilty, you have 90 minutes to prove, or you face a sonic fatal pulse, a sound wave that stops your heart instantly. 2 years in, crime is down 68%. The city is safe, but the safety feels cold. Chris Raven is an LAPD detective from the Robbery Homicide Division. He's a veteran. He's the guy who has spent 7 years feeding the Mercy Court its participants. He believes in the system, or at least he did. But today, the vibe changes. Today, Chris wakes up in the chair. He's panicked. His head is pounding with a dull and brutal ache. He looks up and sees the digital avatar of Maddox, a flickering, elegant projection of a woman who isn't really there. Chris tries to stand, but his wrists are locked into the metal armrests. He starts shouting, telling the machine who he is, shouting his badge number like it's a magic spell that's supposed to save him. Maddox is cold. Her voice is smooth, a synthetic hum. She tells him to take a deep breath. She informs him that his trial is ready because his blood alcohol level has finally dropped to an acceptable range. Chris freezes. He feels a pit in his stomach. "Why am I here, Maddox? What is this?" Maddox doesn't explain with words. She shows him. She accesses the municipal cloud and plays a video. It's body cam footage. We see an officer rushing into a kitchen. There's a woman on the floor, covered in blood. It's Nicole, Chris's wife. Their 7-year-old daughter, Britt, is kneeling beside her, sobbing into her mother's neck, her small hands covered in red. The officer asks Nicole who did this to her. With her very last breath, Nicole whispers one word, "Chris." Maddox looks at him. The court will now present the opening statement. She reveals the brutal math. Chris was the only person in the house. The probability of his guilt is 97.5%. The threshold for execution is 80%. He is already a dead man walking. But that number is about to collapse, and not for the reason anyone expects. Maddox enables the voice commands and touch-sensitive controls on his chair. "Check for yourself, Chris. See the truth." He scrolls through the cloud. He sees his own arrest. He sees his partner, Jack Dio, talking to reporters. He even sees the news report explaining how Chris was the one who brought the very first participant, David Webb, to this court 2 years ago. Maddox explains the rules. He has 90 minutes. If he can drop that 97.5% down to 92%, the threshold of reasonable doubt, he survives. If not, the pulse triggers. And Chris knows better than anyone, the pulse never misses. The vibe shifts from confusion to a living nightmare. Maddox begins the summary of his morning. Chris arrives at work, but he doesn't go in. He turns around and goes home. The doorbell camera shows him banging on the door. Nicole won't let him in. She tells him she's done with him. She tells him to talk to a lawyer. Chris lets himself in with his key. Nicole starts yelling. Maddox points out that Chris spent 26 minutes inside that house. Shortly after he left, Britt returned from a sleepover and found the body. Nicole was stabbed in the liver. It was a severe wound, inflicted by a right-handed attacker. Chris is right-handed. "I didn't do it." Chris whispers. His voice is desperate. Maddox points to his shirt. Nicole's blood is on the fabric. She tells him that after leaving the house, Chris went straight to a bar and drank until he blacked out. Chris argues he never went to the bar, so Maddox plays the bar cam. We see Chris resisting arrest, shouting, acting like a total monster. Is it possible, Maddox asks, that the alcohol and the blow to your head made you forget that you killed your wife? Chris is silent. He can't remember. He starts to sob. He asks to speak to his daughter. Maddox tells him she's with Nicole's parents. He has to submit a formal request. While he waits, he calls his sponsor. Rob Nelson answers. Rob works at Viking Shipping. He sounds heartbroken. He tells Chris he should have called him if he felt the urge to drink. Chris tries to tell Rob he's innocent, but Maddox cuts the line. The purpose of the call was support for your relapse. You failed to use it. Maddox then plays the state of the marriage video. It starts with happiness. 3 years of dating, a wedding, the birth of Britt. But then Maddox highlights a brutal turning point, the death of Chris's partner, Ray. Since then, Chris has been a ghost. Nicole sent 57 messages to friends about Chris losing his temper. She was planning a divorce. Then comes the video from Britt's private Instagram. Britt is talking to her boyfriend. She says her dad is legit scary. Suddenly, a noise happens in the background, a door closing. Britt says, "I think my dad's home," and the video ends. Britt accepts the call from the court. She's in tears. She asks why Chris is in mercy court if he's innocent. She tells him her grandfather, Jeff, said nobody gets a mercy trial unless they're guilty. Jeff appears on the screen and cuts the call. "Focus on the case, Chris," Maddox says. The clock is ticking. Chris explodes. He shouts that she's a machine, that she doesn't feel anything. "I am not designed to feel," Maddox replies. "I am designed to assess facts. If you are innocent, prove it. Otherwise, Britt loses both parents today." Chris takes a deep breath. He calls his partner, Jack Dio. Jack appears on the screen. "You're in a hell of a mess, Chris," Jack said. Chris asks Jack to walk him through the crime scene via a drone feed. They see a broken vase. Jack suggests Nicole tried to defend herself. They see fingerprints on a knife. They match Chris. They see fiber evidence. It matches Chris. "It looks like a crime of passion," Jack says. "The evidence points to you." But Chris is looking at Nicole's phone records. He remembers seeing her text someone a week ago. He asks Maddox for the burner phone. Jack finds it in Nicole's car. It's an unregistered device. Maddox tracks the signal to a red zone hotel. They find the caller, Patrick, a chef. Chris is bitter. He wants Patrick to be the killer. But the hotel cameras show Patrick was in the kitchen at the time of the murder. "Why did you think it was him?" Maddox asks. "Or did you just want to see the man who slept with your wife?" Chris admits he isn't surprised about the affair. He confesses that he had been letting her down. He tells Maddox about the morning of the murder. He went home because he found his stash of alcohol was missing. He assumed Nicole took it. They argued. He smashed her favorite vase in a rage. A shard of glass cut her. That's why her blood was on his shirt. "I don't remember what happened after that," Chris says. He's ready to give up. He tells Maddox that if he's going to die, he wants to see everyone Nicole was in contact with. He looks at her colleagues from Viking Shipping. He notices a name, Holt. He calls Patrick back. Patrick mentions that Nicole was investigating a theft at work. Chemicals were missing. Urea Grande, used for meth. Chris pieces it together. Someone was stealing it to pay off debts. He looks at Holt's records. He has a gambling problem. He looks at the delivery dockets. The paperwork was altered. The guilt rate drops. Chris thinks he has Holt trapped. He calls Rob to find Holt, but Holt answers Rob's phone. He's acting weird. He says Rob left work early because he was sick. Chris instructs Jack to head to the Viking Depot. He asks Maddox to check the bird cam from his neighbor, Bill. The internet was out, so the files are just now archiving. He watches the video. He sees Bill's car pull up. But when Bill gets out, someone else climbs out of the trunk. It's Rob, and what he's about to reveal will completely flip everything you think you know about this case. The hard truth begins to surface. Rob didn't break in. He stayed behind after a Sunday barbecue. He hid in the basement for 2 days. He waited for Chris and Nicole to argue. He waited for the perfect moment to kill her with Chris's own knife, knowing the mercy system would do the rest. Chris's guilt drops to 0. Maddox glitches. For the first time, she sounds unsure. What if I failed people before? We both did, Chris says. Let's make it right. They find Rob's house. It's empty, but the garage is a bomb factory. They find a photo torn in half. Maddox scans it. It's a picture of Rob and his brother. His brother was David Webb, the first man Chris executed. Rob isn't just a thief. He's a ghost seeking revenge. He wants Chris to sit in that chair and feel the guilt of an innocent man. He has 3,000 pounds of explosives in a truck, and he's heading for Mercy Court, and he has Britt. The police pursue the truck. Jack is in command. She orders the tactical team to kill Rob before he reaches the downtown area. Chris begs her to stop. Britt is in the truck. Maddox intervenes. She overrides the tactical team's systems, saving Britt. Rob crashes the truck into the entrance of the court. Chris is released. He runs to the lobby. He sees Rob holding Britt at gunpoint. Rob is screaming. He says his brother was innocent. He says he was on the phone with David at the exact time of the murder. He called the precinct to prove it, and a woman promised to check the records. But the records are gone, Rob cries. Maddox appears on a nearby screen. She tells Rob that if David was innocent, he should prove it. As Rob talks, Maddox gives Chris the odds. If you pull the battery from the detonator, there is an 82% chance the bomb won't blow. Britt bites Rob's hand. Chris lunges. He rips the detonator away. He has his gun on Rob, but Britt pleads with him not to shoot. I called the district, Rob whispers, dying from a wound. A woman answered. Maddox verifies the call. There was an incoming call from Rob that night. Chris turns to Jack. Jack was the officer who booked David Webb. She was the one who processed the evidence. Maddox bypasses the protocols. She plays Jack's body cam from 2 years ago. We see Jack taking David's phone from the evidence room. We see her throwing it away. Mercy Court was necessary, Jack says. Her voice was cold. The officers arrest Jack. They arrest Rob. The court is a wreck. Maddox appears one last time. She looks at Chris. What have we done? Chris looks at the chair he almost died in. Whether human or AI, we all make mistakes. We all lie. Maddox whispers. Yes, we do. And the screen goes black. The hard truth of this story is that you can't automate justice because you can't automate the human heart. We built a machine to save us from ourselves, but all we did was give our own darkness a faster way to kill. The scariest part? It's not the computer. It's the people who stare at a broken system and call it progress just so they can sleep at night. In the end, everyone is guilty of something. The only question is whether you have the mercy to admit it. If you enjoyed this sci-fi thriller, make sure to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more recaps. Stay tuned. See you in the next one.